Good day, everyone, and welcome to another exciting vocab lesson. This is Mr. Stitt, and today we're talking about week 17 for my 8th grade students, and here's a list of the words. Splinter, Quaver, Defiant, Hummock, Rations, and Glum. So let's jump into the words this week and find out what they mean. So the first word this week, many of you are probably familiar with. It's a noun, and the word is splinter. Splinter. And as you can see in this image, I got a bunch of toothpicks here. But if this were to be jammed into your skin, it would be a splinter. But also the general shape of it is a splinter. Because a splinter is a small, thin, sharp piece of wood, bone, or the like, split or broken off from the main body. So anytime a piece of wood is like split or a bone is split, it creates a bit of a shard or like a splinter, a sharp piece of the big part. I know when I grew up, I used to go camping a lot, and if I didn't wear gloves, sometimes I would get a splinter in my finger from handling firewood because it would be kind of sharp and jagged, and it would jab into my skin, so that would be very painful. So synonyms of splinter would be sliver, chip, flake, needle, and shaving. Splinter. The next word this week is quaver. Quaver. And this is a verb, so it's something that you do, but it's typically involuntary, which means you're not totally in control of when you quaver. And it means to shake tremulously, to quiver, or to tremble, to sound, speak, or sing tremulously. So I want you to imagine if you're nervous or scared and you kind of stutter a little bit. That is a quaver. Say you're about to get on a really scary roller coaster and your friend asks you, "Are you scared?" And you're like, no. Anytime your body shakes in fear, that's also a quaver. So synonyms of quaver would be falter, quiver, shake, shiver, shudder, tremble, and vibrate. Quaver. The next word this week is defiant. Defiant. And it's an adjective, and it's characterized by defiance. Boldly resistant or challenging. So as you can see in this image, typically children are described as defiant. If they're not behaving their mom or dad or their teacher, they are seen as a defiant child. Adults can also be very defiant. That's why sometimes adults get fired, because they don't listen to their boss. They do not obey. They challenge or resist what's being asked of them. Companies can be defiant. They cannot follow the government's rules, and thus they might be penalized. So synonyms of defiant would be bold, challenging, daring, gutsy, provocative, rebellious, and sassy. Defiant. The next word this week is hummock. Hummock. And this is a noun, and it's also hammock, which is an elevated tract of land rising above the general level of a marshy region, a knoll, or a hillock. So as you can see, this isn't traditionally what a hummock is because it's typically over a marshy region. But I liked this picture because it showed lots of various elevations. There's lots of crags and ground rising up over other ground. It's very hilly. This would be a hummock, something where there's a lot of rising and falling in the land. So synonyms might be bluff, cliff, dune, hilltop, and ridge. Where I live in Florida, we don't have many hummocks because it's a very flat part of the United States. But maybe someplace like North Carolina or the Appalachian area of the United States, the Rocky Mountains, perhaps Alaska, has lots of these hummock areas. The next word this week is rations. Rations. And this is a noun, and sometimes it's singular as ration, but it's a fixed daily allowance of food, especially to military personnel or when supplies are limited. So some of you might not have experience with this because you've never been in the military, but if a military troop goes out on a hike or goes out on a mission, they're going to store a certain amount of rations in their bag, certain amount of food provisions that they will parcel out over several days. So they might have 3 rations a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're typically packaged in a like a freeze-dried pack, something that will help the food stay fresh. But we might also ration ourselves in everyday life if someone has not that much expenses. Or maybe they have too many expenses and they're trying to ration the food that they just bought. If you eat all the food that you're supposed to spread out over the course of a week, then you're going to run out of food. So a lot of people ration or designate a certain amount of food for certain days. So synonyms of this word would be allowance, consignment, quota, portion, provision, share, and supply. So anytime you kind of parcel things out over time, you have rationed those things. The next word this week is glum. Glum. And this is an adjective, so it's a descriptive word, and it means sullenly or silently gloomy or dejected. So think about the word gloomy, glum, and gloomy. They kind of sound very similar, and they're kind of synonymous. So if you look at this picture here, he's not incredibly angry, but he's just kind of glum. He's down. He's depressed. Some synonyms would be depressed, dismal, gloomy, sad, blue, down, or dejected. Some people feel glum on a Monday. Some people feel glum if they drop their coffee, or if they're late, or if it's just a rainy, cold day. Or some of my students say, I'm glum because I have to come to school today. So anything that makes you somewhat sad makes you feel glum. Well, thanks so much for joining us this week. This is a summary of week 17 words, so this should be a 17, sorry. And the words are Splinter, Quaver, Defiant, Hummock, Rations, and Glum. Thanks again for joining us. I hope to see you next time. Bye.